Hello, and welcome to episode 28 of Friends of the Show. I am Stephen W. Skinner, and this is a podcast where I get to know some of the funniest and nicest folks on Twitter. They are the Friends of the Show. This week's friend is Nick Flanagan at The Flans on Twitter. I've been watching Nick do comedy around Toronto for over a decade. But he's more than just a comedian. He is an actor. He is a punk rock frontman. And we get into some of his crazy punk rock antics. Always great to talk to Nick, and this was no exception. I hope you enjoy episode 28, Friends of the Show, with Nick Flanagan. Now.
I eat so many shrimp, I get iodine poisoning.
Pimp C. So many shrimp, I get iodine poisoning. Ah, Pimp C, the classic quotable quote.
the late Pimp C.
Oh, rest in peace, Pimp C.
Yeah, I know. I just sort of off show we were talking about Willie Nelson, and I jokingly said the late Willie Nelson, but Pimp C really is not alive.
He really is. Rest in peace. He didn't fool us with one of those death hoaxes.
No,
like
it was
Willie
unfortunately
Nelson.
not a hoax, but he was a talented rapper.
Talented
you can
rapper.
hear him on the song Big Pimpin'.
Oh, yeah, that legendary verse. And so this quote was originally from Sippin On Some Syrup.
Yeah, so it's a classic 3-6 Mafia song featuring UGK. Also, Pocket Full of Stones is a great UGK song, if you want to listen to that song.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much for providing that quote, Nick. And everyone welcome our guest, Nick, at The Flans on Twitter. Nick Flanagan.
Thank you. I was going to say, how is everyone going to welcome me? But then I heard some kind of a noise that seemed like it was the welcome noise.
The welcome woo, we call that.
Well, thank you.
So for the listeners, Nick Flanagan is a multi-talented, hilarious, very funny human. He does it all. I'm talking writer. I'm talking actor. I'm talking comedian, punk rock frontman, podcast co-host, and podcast guest, general
and
nice guy.
And one day a podcaster.
And maybe a podcaster in the future. And we shouldn't limit him, but that's all he's done so far.
Yeah,
Some credits. Let's Mark Maron this. Wrote for Odd Squad. Pretty cool. Yes. In the indie film Diamond Tongues. Critically acclaimed. And recently, the indie film Sundowners with Phil Hanley and Born Ruffians frontman Luke Lalonde. And I believe Tim Heidecker from Tim and Eric makes an appear.
And my friends Chris Locke and
Jackie Pirco. Oh, I just saw Jackie Pirco and James Hartnett at Laugh Sabbath this week, and they are among the funniest people. Just so funny. Every time I see them, just hilarious. Jackie killed it. James killed it. It was a great show. So, yeah, shouts out to them all. So, yeah, welcome, Nick. Woohoo!
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. One of the founders of Laugh Sabbath. That's you, right? Kind of.
I'm not really a founder, but right. I was there from the beginning, and then I joined them relatively early on in the Laugh Sabbath. I might have been a founder of when it was called Laugh Sabbath.
Okay.
I can't remember because it started and it was called Righteous Wednesdays, and it was at a venue called the Oasis. But then the name changed to Laugh Sabbath. But yeah. Rebecca Adelman and I came along pretty quickly, and we had a show for a while as part of it. And then I was doing a show with Andrew Johnson and Sarah Hennessy later on.
Love Andrew Johnson and Sarah Hennessy. Also recently have seen them both. It's so funny. Just all the great Toronto comedians. Laugh Sabbath, a comedy institution in the city. So very lucky to have you. A lot of great comedians have come through there back when it was at the Rivoli, and now it's at Comedy Bar every Thursday. So check it out.
How's the podcast been going?
Podcast is going great, Nick. Thanks for asking. Have a lot of real fun guests, a lot of fun chats, and it's great meeting all these Twitter pals who I don't normally get to. You don't normally get to interact vocally with your internet friends all the time. So this is a great way to sort of do that.
Did they Do they ever come over, or is it always a Skype?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. For some of my more local pals, I would love to do some live ones. Haven't done that yet, but it's in the pipeline, everyone. Hopefully to do in the near future. Because there's so many great people in Toronto that I want to speak to, and I should be able to finagle, get somebody in a room, right? I should be able to do that.
Hey, man, whatever feels right. You want to do it on Skype? I don't care. Yeah. I can't do it in a room right now. I'm all the way over, far away from you. So
we should mention that. Yeah, you're on the West Coast. You're living and loving life in La La Land. I'm talking
I'm
LA.
3 hours behind you.
We are on different time zones. The sun is probably still up where you are.
Yeah, it's lowering. I walked a dog earlier, my friend's dog. I took for a walk. That was fun.
That's pretty good. And the weather is nice?
The weather is nice.
It's always nice, you know. Actually, funny thing, climate change, the weather is also very nice here. It was like
I heard
mid-20s and sunny today. Oh, it was just so nice.
And that was, interesting to me. It brought up hearing that, constantly. And I was just in Toronto last month anyway, so I kind of saw it. And it was really just the beginning of the warm front. But it really made me go, well, would I want to leave Canada or would I want to leave Toronto if it was not cold? That's a tough question.
If Toronto had sort of the LA weather.
Yeah, which I don't know if it's quite having that, but it's like it's pretty close. Although we're still like, October. We'll know in January,
Yeah.
That's really when I don't like it. It's like January and February.
February is like the heart of the winter.
The heart of the hurricane.
Yeah.
That is winter.
So I guess it makes sense to be, in LA when you can just walk a dog in the middle of February and just like, oh, maybe have a light jacket on.
Yeah. I mean, I do like that aspect of it. It's crazy. It's a crazy place.
Well, I guess there's pros and cons, right? So a pro, the weather's usually nice. A con,
yes.
When it rains, nobody knows what to do.
Sure. A pro, the weather is really nice. A con, snipers. A pro, the weather is really nice. A con, the therapists bully you.
No.
No, they
just
don't.
Yours?
No, she doesn't bully me.
Oh,
I shouldn't have said that.
If you're listening, he didn't mean it.
But I do have I'm seeing a therapist here. They are it feels more like they're telling you stuff that you like wouldn't get from like a Canadian therapist. Like they're like, like a borderline life coaches, borderline like career coaches, which is not something I'm used to in my slightly limited experience in Canadian therapy.
So they're trying to help you in more ways than one. They're getting your mental stuff in order, but also maybe you need to update your headshots. Something like that.
Yeah, it's sort of like it never hasn't gotten that far where it's kind of like those headshots won't work.
Like, have you
got
tried
to get these retouched?
Have you tried doing themed headshots, like one of you as a doctor, one of you as a fireman?
Yeah, people really want those. They're not going to be able to picture you in the role unless you have a headshot for every role.
That's what I'm saying. That's my advice.
Yes, I know. I took what you said. And then I repeated it and condensed it, which is, I think, an original thought.
Yeah, you curated it. You curated my thought. So the headshots are good.
Movies? Did you see any of those movies I was in?
No, I didn't see them. But I definitely have Sundowners on my list of movies to see. I can get it on iTunes, right? I can just buy it right now on iTunes?
You could buy it on iTunes. I think it's on Netflix.
What? Oh, if it's on Netflix, then I'll watch that too.
It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, but it definitely was up on Netflix.
Well, it's pretty recently released, so yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sundowners is on Netflix. Sorry. Diamond Tongues is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Sundowners is on iTunes, yes.
Sundowners, I'm definitely going to buy it, so don't worry about that. And then maybe I'll update you with my thoughts. I bet it's great.
I forgot the main thing I really want to plug. I have to plug.
All right.
It's my album.
Oh, yeah, the new album, Wiped Privilege. Wiped Privilege, the new album from Nick Flanagan.
It's on Spotify. It's on Amazon Play or Google Play, all that stuff, iTunes. Comedy Dynamics, a good label. released it, but I also have it up if you want to support me directly at nickflanagan.bandcamp.com for pay what you can.
So that's the best. That's the best way to get it. That's what you. That's where you would recommend.
It's pretty much the best way to get it. And if you want to hear that or my first album, I'm Here All Week, on SiriusXM, request me. I'm telling you, I think this record got a slightly raw deal, and I don't really. But that's because I live in music land where it's like, I mean, it wasn't a totally raw deal. It's just like, I don't know. I shouldn't even complain, but it's like, I put a lot into changing things up for this album. It was like many years of effort, many recordings, in fact. And there was something special about this recording and the way it went in Hamilton, Ontario.
Woo! Shout out to Hamilton, Ontario.
Yeah. And, I think individuals who listened to it, I don't know, I get good feedback. And then critically, there was some good feedback, but, it was, I just made such an effort and put it out with a big-ish comedy label. And, I hope that it can just keep living. That's all. Even though it came out a while ago now, I just really want people to check it out because I am proud of it. And,
now that it's out there, right? People should be listening to it, especially new listeners of the podcast, probably downloading it right now. Wiped Privilege. That's the new one from Nick Flanagan.
Yeah.
And maybe get all of them. Get I'm Here All Week. I know I have it. I have an autographed vinyl copy of that.
Yes, I appreciated that purchase.
Well, I'm glad. I love having a great local comedian's album and autographed. Did I mention? It was autographed.
Do you have a record player?
I do have a record player. It is in the room I'm sitting in currently.
Can you describe the room to me?
The room is a small office location. I'm sitting at a desk with my podcasting setup. Above the desk, there's 2 shelves with a bunch of life paraphernalia. And then behind me, of course, is the record player with my records. And then above that is a couple shelves with some, featured records. I got my Arkells up there, got Born Ruffians, and, of course, Tokyo Police Club. Everyone check them out.
Do you think Arkells regret calling their name that because of R. Kelly?
I don't know.
What happened?
I don't know. Because they did change their name once already. They used to be Charlemagne. Charlemagne. And then they became Arkells. It's like a Hamilton ref. So I don't.
But Charlemagne is also the name of a rap personality.
Oh, I see. Yes, that is true. Well, maybe that's why they changed it.
They were like, this guy's a jerk. Let's name ourselves after R. Kelly.
Yeah. That's right. Good Hamilton boys, we should mention.
Kudos to the Arkells. Kudos to all the good people of Hamilton. There's so many people. The Alexis on Fire, Dead Tired people.
Yes, yep,
Black
they're good.
Lungs,
they're good.
Wade McNeil.
You know all the people. We should mention that you are yourself a musician. You're in the scene. You used to be the main guy, frontman for Brutal Nights.
Yes.
And now Wrong Hole?
Yes.
Nice. So multiple bands.
Yes.
Flanagans.
And lots of Flanagan bands. Brutal Nights was the one that lasted the longest, I guess. And I was in a band called Team Chord Combo, a band called Killer Elite. And gotten to do a couple of speaking of Hamilton, this is a interesting Hamilton fact, possibly. I sang some Teenage Head songs, which is a Hamilton band, one of the best Hamilton bands ever.
I would say among the top Hamilton bands.
Maybe the best Hamilton band.
Maybe the most well-known, other than Arkells these days.
Yeah, I just mean maybe the most influential for a certain genre.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, the other, Edgar Bro's band. What band is that again? Simply Saucer. They're a very influential. They were like a really neat band, but Teenage Head was just anyway, so amazing. And I sang a couple of songs of theirs at a release show for Don Pyle's book of rock pictures from the 70s and 80s, and Gord from Teenage Head played guitar, and I played You're Tearing Me Apart and Picture My Face. I sang those.
Buddy, that's cool as heck.
And I think it's on YouTube somewhere. And I tried, and the Sadies were pretty much backing me up. So that was cool too.
Wow.
It's all very cool.
Those are a lot of references. Everyone go and check out all of those references right now.
I'm the Dennis Miller of just normal references
Just
without
regular
jokes.
like Southern Ontario music references.
Yeah, not used humorously. More so like job interview style.
Yeah.
But a job, who's hiring you for the job where you say you know the Sadies?
Not me.
Okay, well, that's noted. I'm not hired by you for knowing the Sadies.
We'll see how the rest of the interview goes. Nick,
Well,
where are
you?
Where are you originally from?
Toronto.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada?
Yes, Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Good, because I wasn't sure. You kind of give maybe a Montreal vibe because you're so international. You're international flavor.
I've been there.
You've been there, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I'm
speaking,
not from there.
now that's a great segue. Let's talk about one of the times you were there. Maybe the time that you broke your arm.
Right. What do you want to know?
I heard that you broke your arm singing.
Well, I did. I broke my arm singing in Brutal Nights at Saint Laurent and Saint Viateur at the corner at a bar that is no longer there called Bar Saint Laurent 2. I cannot remember who we were playing with. I guess we were headlining the show. We were very successful in Montreal.
Yeah. It's a great scene to be successful in, too.
Well, it was pretty thrilling. The crowds were great. We didn't play like giant venues, but we I think if we kept going, we could have. It just would have kept getting. People would have kept coming. Like we could have probably consistently played places like Lambie or Salado. Anyway, don't worry about it. I'm not going to just name venues.
Yeah.
I promise. I love naming things. But at the very end of the night, I was crowd surfing because the crowds were right there, and I tried to jump from the crowd to the stage, and I missed the stage.
Ooh.
And I definitely, and then I braced myself with my hand unthinkingly, and I broke I got a compound fracture. But because it was a full room, everybody just saw me fall, and people get stressed out. So they probably thought I'd hit my head or was injured. So people were really like, what happened? And then the ambulance came, and there was a little bit of blood trickling from my arm, and people took a photo, and I spoke pretty good French to the EMT workers, and then I got my arm set, and then I had a steel bar put in my forearm.
Is that still there to this day?
Yeah, and we had to cancel a show with Mudhoney.
Oh no, that's a big name.
Yes, we were supposed to play with Mudhoney, but then we couldn't.
That would have been a good one. Dang.
Yeah.
So how long were you laid up? How long were you off of the mic for? 6 to 8 weeks?
Maybe. I mean, I guess I couldn't. I didn't. I'm sure I was still doing comedy with the cast, but I guess it was 6 to 8 weeks, and then we broke up actually.
During that time?
I think so.
Do you think this was the inciting incident because you couldn't you had it going so well, like everything was humming along, and then all of a sudden, crack?
I would say things were humming along. I mean, I think it was getting more difficult to do stuff because I was, trying to do a band and comedy. Those are just really, especially in Canada, very financially uncertain things to try to do. So I was probably not really. I probably didn't have any money, and that was impacting my just how doable the band was. So I think we were basically planning to break up because it was people were getting, a couple of people got one guy got a good job, and I don't think he necessarily wanted to tour with the band, and I
mean, that
things kind of
happens.
Well, there was this band Monotonics that was around the same time that was a 3-piece from Israel, and the singer they just used to be really crazy. They would play in the crowd, and they'd get the crowd to lift up the drum kit, and the drummer would drum lifted by the crowd, and the singer was always being lifted and running around, and they were going outside of the venue, and they were, really well known for a time because it was just such a crazy show. And then I think the singer broke his leg at a festival, I believe. I don't think they lasted that much longer after that, and I'm sure it was for a variety of reasons. It was sort of similar like that with us. I didn't I would do that kind of thing, run into the crowd and jump and doing this and that, and do this like aggressive lead singer thing, and I think once that kind of happened, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna like crowd surf that much more. I mean, I'm sure I would have, but it just wasn't. When you're introduced to the consequences, to kind of keep doing it is like a little bit foolhardy or whatever. Not that you can't. We played more shows after that happened, and I would stay on the stage more, and I liked that.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah, that's the normal way to do it. Those other guys,
so
that was a little
at
much.
Some point, you can't just keep doing that. Really, I mean, you could.
It's so tiring for the crowd.
Tiring, yeah. If your crowd is kind of like getting older, which theoretically they wouldn't get younger.
Reunion tour would be awful. So many broken bones.
Well, that could happen if we do have a reunion show. It's like, people will get stressed out. Like they'll be like, why are people moshing behind us? And it's because that's what they did originally.
Yeah, that's what you do to those hard rocking tunes, right? Because the tunes are pretty hard rocking.
They were hard rocking.
Was that the only time that you fell, or did you sort of escape injury previously, but that was the one time where I was like, landed finally?
Yeah, I mean, I escaped injury. I think I probably had like minor injuries, a few times. I think when I was a teenager, we played a show in a venue called Who's Emma in Kensington Market. Somebody stepped on the mic base, and it kind of which was tilted, so it hit me in the mouth with the mic, and I think that chipped a tooth. But that was the only other thing, and that was 20 years beforehand. And I just got it fixed. You just got the tooth fixed? Yeah, the little chips, yeah.
20 years later? Did you get a replacement tooth, or did they glue a piece on?
I think they glued teeth on. Did you ask if they used the tooth that I had?
You probably lost it, right? You didn't find the piece.
I probably swallowed it.
Oh, yeah. Because if you do lose it, you can put it in milk, and then they can sometimes save it.
What do you mean? You put it in milk, and then it appears in your mouth?
No, you put it in milk, and then you bring it to the dental surgeon, and they're like, oh, good thing you put this in milk. We can save it.
I thought you meant, you put it in milk, and then it disappears, and then it's back in your mouth. And
yeah, you put it in milk, and it dissolves into the milk. Then you drink the milk, and your teeth's fine.
Well, I should definitely. You just pulled something on me that I did to you earlier, where I said the thing you said and rephrased it, and you just said the thing I said and rephrased it.
That's right.
So
I'm learning now, Nick. I'm learning.
Yes. I did get Sarah Silverman to sign my cast when I had a broken arm, which was pretty exciting.
Damn, that's a good autograph to get.
Yeah, it said "Eat a dick." Sarah.
That's good. Classic Sarah, right?
As far as I know, it's classic Sarah.
Well, that's the thing. You're out there in L.A., right, doing spots around town, hitting all the hot shows and hitting. But
I didn't bring my cast to L.A. now and get Sarah Silverman to sign it. She signed it at the time.
Yeah. So do you still have the cast, or did you throw it?
It might be in our basement.
It might be. You could still bring it around. Just bring it to shows. Maybe that Sarah Silverman part, just cut that one specific part out.
She didn't sign her full name.
But, yeah, I guess there's no certificate of authenticity that comes with that.
And Todd Barry started to sign it and then didn't know what to write, so he just scribbled.
Well, that's classic Todd, right?
It kind of is classic Todd.
I saw him do a little spot last week at the festival, the JFL 42 festival.
Did you go all over for that?
Yeah, went all over, but that was the Andy Kindler alt show on the Friday, so it was a great lineup. Chris Locke, as you have previously mentioned, was on that show. Great show. Tim Heidecker from the movie was also on that show.
Oh, Tim Heidecker was on the alt show? That's cool.
He did stand up, but he said he doesn't normally do stand up, so he just talked about a time he got diarrhea. that was his bit. But yeah, it was a great show. Sarah Hennessy also on that show. It was a fun time. So I was just going to mention doing all those shows around LA, you probably bumped into a lot of great comedians down there too.
I did do one show recently that had Kevin Nealon was on it.
Nealon.
David Cross. So that was exciting. And then sometimes, it does happen.
That's the hot spot.
it is the hot spot, and there's people who are, really good who are over here. And, I'm not doing as many sets, which is too bad. Am I supposed to say that?
No, you can do as many sets as you want, Nick.
Well, I think I'd like to do more sets, but it's just like getting to do, asking and then going everywhere's far.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, that's the thing out there, right? It's hard to get places.
Yeah, sometimes I feel pretty discouraged out here.
But I'm sure you're doing other stuff. What else are you doing out there, Nick? You doing some auditions? You doing any commercial acting?
Do some commercial auditions occasionally, and I do some writing, submitting packets to shows, trying to get writing jobs, and keep busy putting on shows. I do a show called Night Comedy here that's like a monthly-ish. It was we took a lot of time off actually, but it's basically a monthly stand-up show at my friend's art gallery, and that one goes pretty well. We're having one October 18th. I'm excited for, and it's a thing. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's good. It is a bit of a grind, right? But that's part of it.
It's like an existential grind. I don't really find it like, I don't know. I'm not like, I don't feel like I'm working as, I feel a bit underused, and so you wind up, the grind is actually to motivate yourself. So that's the grind, is your spirit is being ground. Into like sort of a chalk ash kind of thing.
And then it blows into the Santa Ana winds.
Yes, or in my case, Pasadena.
Oh, Pasadena. That's lovely out there, isn't it? I heard there's a lot of little old ladies and such.
There's little old ladies, there's older people, younger people, middle-aged people. Pasadena's weird. It's like feels kind of like there's a lot of secret things going on, but the idea that it's like a idyllic place seems to be very important to the presentation.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I don't live in Pasadena. I live like adjacent to Pasadena.
Right, you're probably on the cool side of the tracks.
Yeah, I'm on the cool side of the tracks. I've checked out the Ice House a couple of times. Very old comedy club over there.
Ice House, yeah, you always hear Marin talking about doing dates there, right?
Yeah, we went to the Ice House, man. Went to the Ice House. I don't know, man. There's something about an old club, rickety chairs.
That was good. That's a very good Marin. There's something about this, just something about that, Who are you guys?
Something about the club, when a club's got that kind of you look at the floors and there's gum.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Like, me and Kinnison did blow in the back room there, 89.
What was your dad like? Did you have a dad?
Who are you guys?
Who am I? Am I a guy?
Am I a guy? Are we good?
Who are my guys? Am I good?
Guys?
Am I good to myself?
Boomer lives.
Interesting to picture him asking, are we good, in the mirror, in a scene that almost is like in Schindler's List when Rafe finds his leg.
That super existential crisis that he's going through, but just looking at himself.
I do live in the same area as Mark Maron. That's comforting to know. Right.
In the Highland Park area.
Yeah.
That's good.
I do.
You're near the garage.
Near the ranch.
The ranch, the cat ranch. Well, very good.
Thank you.
Good choice, Nick. Good choice.
Topic-wise, how am I doing? I mean,
we are right on track. We're right on track, and the podcast is just about to amp up into second gear because we're getting into the tweets. I'm talking Nick's tweets from Twitter @theflans. Everyone, please give him a follow for these funny-ass tweets. So the first tweet that Nick has chosen to share with us today goes like this. Some people just like to watch the world's birds.
This thing where you're asking people to like pick their favorite tweets, that's basically like pulling someone's fingernails off, right?
I know that. I do know it, but I like it. It's mostly for me. And I think it fills a great segment.
There is something about Twitter, and I think this is like a really interesting fact. I know I'm not the only person who does this. I think the real entertainment of Twitter is not engaging with others. It's weirdly scrolling down your past tweets and looking at them and going, yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah. No one got this one, but I get it.
I hate it when nobody likes them.
No.
You're such a popular Twitterer, Steven.
Oh, well, thank you, Nick. Yeah, I like to do it. It's fun. The jokes, right? We just tweet the jokes, and then sometimes people like them.
That's true.
Yeah. And I like Twitter for all yes, scrolling through the old tweets and seeing them. I do that a lot. And if you haven't seen an old tweet of mine, you will, because I will definitely bump it at some point. But what I like,
what's the protocol there? Are we supposed to do that?
Hey, this is you do you. IMO, you can do Twitter however you like. People do it in different ways. Some people really hate that. When they released self-retweeting, a lot of people took a stand saying, I would never.
Yeah, but don't you think that was like, that faded?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That's just like a regular thing. I mean, it's sort of just like a comedian telling the joke again, right? If it's in the act, you tell it a few times. I think it's just, you share what works. A lot of tweets sometimes aren't good at all and are very bad, and those ones get deleted and you delete it. So you don't see them on the TL again and again.
I'm gonna retweet mine and see what happens.
Yeah, you can do that. I'm
gonna do a self retweet right now.
All right, let's watch the numbers crawl up in real time.
Let's see what happens.
Here we go. Get ready for the notification flurry.
So yes, some people like to watch the world's birds.
And this is a classic Nick Flanagan joke. It's all of a lot of your jokes are sort of like the simple one-liners, which I love. It's a specific style, and that's sort of it's kind of my style too. Like really short and sweet, and I guess that's sort of why it works on Twitter so well.
Yes.
Have you ever used this in your act? Like, do you ever start something if it's a tweet and then bring it to the stage, or not really?
I think once in a great while. Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, there's definitely some. I mean, none of the ones that I told you, but sometimes the ones that actually embody like opinions or sort of like just observations, like those ones will be easier to do. And if it's a one-liner, have to be really special. I mean, I kind of like have not cooled on doing one-liners, but it's like
it's hard. It's a lot harder to do like a 10-minute set filled with just one-liners, right?
Well, I just think on Twitter, it's like if you wanted to be the first person to do one, it's kind of impossible at this point. Like you can be the first person to tweet one that's going to get other people will think of and then tweet later. That's obviously possible.
Yes.
And the parallel thought level of Twitter at this point actually has kind of like I don't believe it's ruined something, but it's really changed the concept of joke theft or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like,
well, I think it's like people see all of these jokes, right? You see all of these things in your timeline, and you sort of like absorb it into your mind. And then after seeing sort of how people skew jokes or what sort of language they use, you start to think about that in your own joke writing. So you sort of absorb the wisdom of the crowd, and then you put it out. So that's why everyone sort of it seems like parallel thought, but really based on all the tweets that everyone's seen, they just like that's what they think of. Everyone thinks of sort of the same punchline when some news happens, and you'll see like one joke again and again and again, because that's like, oh, of course, this joke.
And you'll see funny people tweeting the first one that very quickly became overused. Like I've seen that a lot, where like some Twitterer who everybody likes tweets something, and then it's like so overdone by like a million other people. Always a celebrity does it. And it's like, to credit it is questionable. I mean, I put a lot of thought one week, this is years ago, into like the vampire hunter one.
yeah.
Abraham
Lincoln vampire
hunter. Whenever that came out, I took like a week. And then I wrote Abraham LinkedIn job hunter. And this comedian retweeted it, and it immediately got like a ton of retweets. It was probably my most popular tweet. And then I was in a car with these guys, and this dude was like, oh yeah, see if someone said it already. And then I did, and then someone had said it already. And Like, then this guy was like, you're like ripping off this guy. It's like, I actually fucking put thought into it.
Yeah.
I just should never have deleted it. I don't think there's really a point in deleting those kinds of, like, a pun. Like,
no. And also,
if
it's
you're
like,
brave enough to say a pun or wordplay on stage and it works, that's the real art of it.
That it really is, because you have to follow that up with another one and another one and another one, because it really only takes like 10 seconds.
Or you have to just make a crowd not groan, saying it, because it's like really one thing, to have people sort of like, like sometimes the like or the fave or even the retweet on Twitter really just approximates what in a crowd would be a nod of acknowledgement.
Yeah, exactly.
Like wouldn't
that's clever. I get it.
Yeah.
Check.
But I love, Chris actually does some fun puns here and then. I like that. He's been doing that. And so I've kind of shied away from like, I mean, even some people like to watch the World's Birds. That one really works for me because it's like, it's not really a joke.
Yeah, it's just like you just changed two words of like
it's a strange twist. It's kind of cute to picture, and it makes the Joker fun, like just like
yeah,
really silly, basically, and not like a guy who shoots Barbara Gordon in the stomach.
Did he do that?
In The Killing Joke.
Yeah. Ah, dang it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get rid of the tattoo.
Spoiler alert. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry. Spoiler alert on a 28-year-old graphic novel.
Yeah. I might have to cut that out for our listeners. I don't know.
Yeah, and then put it at the front.
I'll put heavy spoiler alerts and warnings on this episode.
Yeah, so like that one, like the dumber one something is, the quicker I'll say it. And sometimes I'll tweet something really dumb and I'm really not going to worry about if it's been said before, because I'm kind of like, it's that saying is reflecting my mood. It's not necessarily me trying to be like,
yeah, check this out. I thought of this, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it is literally, check this out. I thought of this.
Well, it is. But, if someone else had thought of the same thing before,
I'd be like, cool, great.
Cool. Yeah. It's, cool. We did it. We both did it.
I made a yogurt cultural appropriation joke once that was probably on Twitter.
Okay.
And a comedian who's like a funny comedian from Houston who I was on the same show as wrote me and was like, hey, we both made that joke. And I actually made that joke. He said, and I made that joke at a show that we were both on. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I just like credited him to the joke and like deleted it in that case, because it was kind of like, all right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a
like
thing.
Never worth.
It's not worth fighting over, right? Like I think the common theme is write a new joke. When that happens, like, yeah, okay, cool. Someone else thought of it first. Very good. Like retweet the original and then just be like, all right, I'll think of a new one.
What about the second tweet?
The second tweet from Nick Flanagan is very good. I think this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite tweet from you. And the tweet is as follows. 1 minute before a comedian dies, they nod slightly to acknowledge they see the light. Nick.
Shouldn't have laughed at my own joke.
Yeah, well, it's also sort of a comedian. It's a little shot for the back table, right? Like kind of a comedy reference, but
and you actually skipped the second one in my list, but we'll get into that.
Oh my goodness, I put them in a different order.
Well, that's fine. That's cool. You're keeping me on my toes. I like that. Yeah, that joke. That joke. I think that's like a joke where I'm kind of like, this doesn't necessarily. I'm not necessarily like, I don't know. Like I thought that was like original and yet also kind of like not. Like, I don't know. I was happy with that one too when it came out.
Yeah,
it was like all the things I wanted.
Yeah, I definitely think it's great. It's like very clever, Nick.
Very clever, very inside, and it's cute.
It's cute.
That's like when I did meet Marin. I guess I've met him a few times, but I told him like a joke of mine, and he went, "That's cute."
That's great. So that's going to be your Marin story when you get on WTF.
Yeah, I guess I'll have a few. I've like met him a few times now, and there's always something funny.
You got to have a beef with him.
Vaguely insulting.
Yeah, you got to have you have to have some sort of a beef with him, so then he'll have you on so you can squash that beef.
But it's only vaguely insulting. And I take so much certain people could like say a million things to me and I wouldn't be that offended. Like I would not think they were like out of line. I wouldn't take it too hard. And then there's people, if they say one thing or a certain thing, I'll be so sad, and have the thinnest skin. How about that?
Yeah. Well,
put that in your blog.
You're only human, Nick. You're only human.
Yes. Yeah.
So now we're getting to the tweet,
Right.
the tweet that I skipped, and it is: Beats by Dre headphones make the podcasts about depression I listen to 30% more banging.
I mean, it is funny to picture like all these people with like Beats by Dre headphones listening to podcasts, which is like people must be doing that,
People are definitely doing it. If you're listening to this podcast with Beats by Dre, get at us at FOTS Pod.
Yeah, hit us up.
Hit us up on the internet.
Hit us. Don't even hit us up. Just hit us. You have your permission to attack me.
So yeah, Beats by Dre, but not listening to the latest Pimp C track. Rest in peace. They are listening to podcasts about depression.
Yes, because I think when I wrote that joke, I was like, or whatever it is, I was listening to like the Mental Illness Happy Hour podcast.
Okay, yeah. That's a very popular one.
It is, and it's a very hard to take one sometimes.
Right. You don't want to overdo it on that.
No. Could put you in a dark place, even though you're trying to get out of the dark place listening to it. Doesn't seem like a good combo.
Very cool. And you've sent some extra ones, so I'm going to say there's a bonus tweets. And this one I loved. It's just a description of an action, and it's frantically nods in agreement to end conversation. I'm guessing this is a life hack, something that you employ?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that was like, I have another joke. I mean, that's kind of where I've moved to now, is like from puns to like kind of just describing horrific things. And, my girlfriend is a little bit, she's at Bimbo Summit on Twitter, Heather Jewett, and she's really good at that kind of stuff too. And, it's kind of this entire subgenre of Twitter is like despair Twitter, and anxiety Twitter. Like Jake Wiseman would be somebody who like sort of is like that a lot of the time. And he'll always be like, remember when you see a comedian, they're dead inside or something. That's not a joke of his. He'd say something funnier, but so frantically nods in agreement to end conversation is because it's like, I feel like it's never you or a person, but it's always like you're in a conversation and someone you see is like nodding really hard to agree with something, and you're like, oh, they just want to leave a lot. And then it's something similar. I realized where like if you're like complaining to somebody and they go, you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. They're really just trying to say like, we got to stop talking about this.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah. Not adding anything constructive to further the conversation. Oh, all right. Yeah. Huh. Well, I think that was great. So thank you, Nick, for sharing those tweets with us and giving us a look behind the curtain to your process.
You're welcome.
Now we get into Nick's picks from others. Sifted from hundreds of possible tweets, he has selected these three tweets.
Millions.
These
billions.
3 tweets. He has picked them, and the first one is from the aforementioned Heather Jewett at Bimbo Summit on Twitter.
Yes.
And her tweet is, LA waiters are very, it's Dylan. You know the drill.
It's a little local humor for you
That's
guys.
what I'm
maybe
talking
you haven't
about.
been able to enjoy these LA waiters as I do every day as I wait outside of the back of the restaurant and they bring me scraps.
And then you and Heather do the Lady and the Tramp spaghetti scene.
Yeah, they're very like, I think we know how this goes. Like that. I think that thing when she told is like, sometimes you'll go to a restaurant and be like, so we know what's going on here. I'm going to like try to take your food orders and you're going to eat the food.
Yeah. I'll be back after 2 bites.
Dylan,
you know
the drill. This is Dylan. You know the drill.
Yeah, I think it's sort of just like they're way too cool to be doing that day job. So
Dad! Dylan impression.
That is a great Dylan.
Loved. So, Heather is such a funny Twitterer and really, really underrated Twitterer. She has only like 1,000 followers.
What?
And she should have way more. She's really good. And she's one of those people I'm very jealous of where, like, yeah, she's got 1,000 followers, but, like, she's, you know, if she tweets something, like 30 or 40 of the people who follow her will immediately like it because they get it.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like they're really engaged.
An engaged
and that's
following.
And she deserved that. She used to be in the group Gravy Train, and now does comedy and has a web series coming out soon. So
that's very exciting.
Bimbo son.
And congratulations for dating her.
Thank you.
That's very cool. So, yeah, I will definitely have to give her a follow as well. And listeners, you two should too.
Yes.
All right. So the next tweet comes from one of my favorites, Tim Gilbert at Gilbert Tim.
Tim.
Yes, he was hosting the Laugh Sabbath show that I saw this week. Just great stuff. Him and Marty Tops had a baby. They got a baby for the show. And it was very funny. So the tweet from Tim is like this. I love watching comedians we all know are straight up stupid tweet things like, Trump hair look good.
Does it say good?
No, it doesn't say good. I just auto-completed that. Trump's hair look.
It's like Trump's hair look.
Yeah.
You know, like Trump hair look. You know,
Trump hair look. That's the correct punchline.
Yeah, I mean, Tim is just... I'm looking at one of his tweets right now. As OMG, sorry to all the hashtag shit fans out there. The latest episode of 15 shitheads talking at the same time for 2 hours will be up soon. And it's like, Tim is just too funny and angry, and you know, it's just crazy, and he's gem, and I think he's very underfollowed. You know, I mean, he's somebody who has like under 4,000 followers, and like all of his tweets get like, you know, tons of attention, and deservedly so.
Deservedly so. Some of the funniest stuff will really make you LOL. And it's even better if you know Tim, if you've seen his comedy live, because reading tweets in his voice, it really takes it to the next level, right?
But I would say that, you know, I mean, there's something about him, his Twitter, where you can almost hear it in his voice, even if you haven't heard his stand-up, which is like a testament.
It's really hard to do, but he has a very clear and solid voice, and it is a lot of the time very angry. But also, that's what makes it fun.
It's pretty angry. It's basically like a school shooter type of person, like a Stephen Paddock.
Oh God. Ugh.
All right, I'm gonna.
The next tweet.
He's not that type of guy. He's quite nice. Quite.
Oh, yeah, we shouldn't compare Tim to a mass murderer.
A mass murderer. There's nothing funny about that.
Tim's great. Everyone check him out at Gilbert Tim.
But he is like that.
It's okay because he's not listening, so don't worry about it. All right, the next tweet comes from Wolf Puppy at Wolf Puppy, and the tweet is... That was the tweet. I did read it. It's just a lowercase p.
Oh, yeah.
A hilarious joke on the podcast pulled by Nick, selecting a tweet that was just a lowercase p.
I mean, you know, I just think Wolf Puppy is an underrated account. And it actually has a lot of followers, so maybe it's not that underrated.
Not that underrated. Quite a popular account.
So maybe it's like, I just think it's a popular account. I think it's like the right kind of, you know, weird Twitter thing or whatever. It's like, you know, Wolf Puppy is like cute and silly and fun, but it's not overbearing. I don't get the sense that the guy who's doing it is like an astrophysicist, which I fucking hate.
Yeah.
I'm like so sick of...
That's why you don't follow Neil deGrasse Tyson. I get it.
Well, you know, I mean, like, God bless this Jami son, man. But it's like the fact that he's like an engineer is so stressful to me, you know? Like, and that's like a stressful thing to me about really culture right now, is everybody who's doing it is so fucking smart. I can't keep up with you people. Wolf Puppy is working class.
Bringing it back to the blue collars.
Wolf Puppy.
Wolf Puppy, yeah. Puppy.
I'm just a fan of the account.
I mean, it's a great account, and thank you for
Yeah.
bringing it to our attention. It's the first Wolf Puppy tweet that we featured, but there are a lot of great ones.
Yeah, who are some of the people? Does Drill get in there?
Drill, yeah, he's good. Drill's pretty good. Who else is there? Who else are the big ones? Well, Drill's a pretty good one.
I know Krang T. Nelson.
Krang T. Nelson has been killing it lately. That's a very good
Political. Who else is there? There's what about the guy Utility Limb? Nobody talks about Utility Limb anymore.
Yeah, Utility Limb is because he doesn't really tweet anymore. His account.
No, Utility Limb was one of those ones that would just like tweet very rarely.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mini Drill type of one.
Yeah. Vineyville
I don't know Vineyville.
was a good one. Yeah, there's lots of good ones. Who are some of your favorites?
I like GHXYK2, who is a member of the group Famicom. Famicom being the people who made these Bart the General things, cartoons in the early to mid 2000s. They're a very, very, really neat collective of YouTube. They make YouTube videos. They made the videos for my I'm Here All Week and Wiped Privilege that I made to promote them. These very strange videos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And, well, besides the people I mentioned, James Hartnett is great on Twitter.
It's the best. James is the best.
Obviously, Megan Amram's a pretty great, she's really consistently pretty good. And
She's ready
Neil
on-
Hamburger.
Yeah,
is
Neil
amazing.
Hamburger. Yeah, you have opened for him a bunch of times, right?
Yeah, and toured with Neil Hamburger.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I mean, who else? I mean, then it's like the horrible people, who are like so entertaining, like Ian Miles Chong.
Oh, yeah, you're following that guy? I don't follow
I'm not
those
following
kind of
him,
guys.
but I'm like monitoring it,
Right.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you don't necessarily have to follow those kind of guys because all their worst stuff is going to show up. Someone's going to quote tweet it into your feed sooner or later,
Ian
right?
Miles Chong almost feels like a CIA plant, in the world of laughable Twitter, because he just is always embarrassing himself. Like he never isn't. He just retweets people who have valid points about him, and then will like have a weak response, and it's just out there. Like I saw it today, and he's clearly a lost kid, but he's a bad reporter, and he's really part of this insane thing that's in culture right now. How did you avoid being brainwashed by the Jordan Peterson types? What kept that out of you? Just human decency, just the fact being a decent person, or were you ever called to the dark side by in the post Gamergate world, Stephen?
No, I think that sort of being a little bit removed from it up here does help, right? So sort of just
but I
like a
disagree.
step away.
I disagree.
Okay, go ahead.
I think Canada is a breeding ground of this kind of coffee shop libertarian thinking. I mean, I think Toronto is a place where that's very prevalent, gaming and internet use. Like if you go on YouTube, it's a cesspool right now. I'm obsessing with Rice Gum and with this guy iDubbbz. Do you even know what that shit is?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's like these YouTubers having a war right now. But anyway, and like Jordan Peterson's Canadian, the Rebel Media was a Canadian thing. That's like,
oh right, yeah. So I guess just being a good person. The first thing that you
yes.
said.
Well, congratulations on being a good person. That's good.
Just good enough to ignore all that.
Ian Miles Chong is very laughable. There's a few. I mean, I am sort of obsessing a little bit lately over like these 4chan, the Donald kind of, people who are like weird Twitter meme culture people who decided that like men aren't macho enough and that SJW, so they have this like vague Tim and Eric kind of sensibility, but they're really frustrated and they're very know-it-all-y, and they really hate feminism with a capital F and all of this stuff, and it's fascinating to see, but it's depressing.
It is depressing. It's kind of a crazy time for that kind of stuff right now, right? But
yeah, it really is.
we're just going to see how it all shakes out. See if this feminism thing really takes off.
Nuclear cloud. It's going to shake out with a nuclear.
I really hope not. But Anything could happen. And that brings us to the final segment, which is questions from Twitter. So thank you, everyone who has submitted a question for Nick. And the first questions come from our friend Malt Skull at Malt_Skull. And he wants to know, who is your favorite comedy funny person from 1, Canada, 2, USA, 3, Europe?
Okay. Favorite funny person from 1, Canada. I'm going to name just, there's the simple answer is Norm Macdonald for a question like that, right?
Yeah, great answer.
But, if we're talking about, like, underneath that, I think someone like Laurie Elliott is very underrated. Deborah DiGiovanni is underrated.
Yep.
And Mike Wilmot and Scott Thompson are also underrated. But, Canada has no shortage of hilarious people from it, so it's really hard to pick just one.
For sure.
And Scott Thompson just got comeback of the year or something in the LA Weekly,
He's back.
which I thought was really great to see.
It is great. Yeah, he's great. Whenever you see him, he's got such a great energy about him. Mm-hmm. So nice.
Kathleen
lovely.
Phillips is such a funny person.
Yeah.
But yeah, Norm Macdonald, if we're talking all time and impact on me.
For sure. That is a great answer. What about from your adopted land, the USA?
Well, the funniest American ever, it's obviously Mark Twain.
We're talking Samuel Clemens.
Oh, Henry. What's his name? Langston Hughes, was he a humorist? Right now, who's the funniest American? Again, it's so hard because there's so many different forms now. Mm-hmm. Howard Stern is so amazing. I'm back listening to Howard Stern. I love it so much.
Yeah, he's underrated as that, but he's been doing it for so long.
And he lost, he didn't lose fans at all, but he transitioned to being only on Sirius. So the only people who are paying attention to him are those who are maybe were already fans, but what he's doing is head and shoulders above. He's broadcasting. He's really not podcasting. It's you listen to that and you see the difference. There is a difference right now. And I'm not trying to besmirch the act of podcasting, which we're having a wonderful time here. But it's Stern's thing is so ingrained now, and it's just really awesome to hear, and it's very natural. So I love it. I'm trying to think of just people I've seen. Eddie Pepitone is so funny.
Eddie Pepitone.
Maria Bamford's great. Lizzie Cooperman in L.A. is really, really funny. She's, maybe not the funniest American in the world, but she's someone who I just love seeing her perform.
That's good.
I do like that about being here is you just see so many funny people that it winds up being. Annie Lederman, who I just saw perform, was so funny. Sam J, it's amazing. It's a great thing about being here is you do get to see just the level that people are at.
Heather Jewett. Yeah, a lot of great people.
Heather Jewett.
All right, and do you know any European comedians? He's asking because he is himself from Finland. Shout out to Finland.
Well, unfortunately, if we're going outside of England and around there, it's I'm pretty out of the loop. I know, Magnus Bentner from Sweden and some other people. But if we're talking about within the UK, which I know left the EU but is still in Europe.
We're still in the midst of Brexit.
I've enjoyed Simon Amstel. I've enjoyed, I guess, even Jimmy Carr, but I'm sure people are over Jimmy Carr over that way now. And, the classics like Daniel Kitson or Stuart Lee, those guys are really amazing. And then also, he's not European, but, Simmons, what's his name, from Australia, not Russell Simmons. So I hope that feels like
that was a very, very full answer. He asked for one, and you gave a laundry list of great comedians.
Yeah, so I don't really have a great ability to be quick at answering.
Okay. Well, luckily, there's not that many questions. So thanks, Malt, so much for the questions at Malt_Skull. Great friend of the show. Next questions come from Timmy at the Timmy Toes. His question number 1, do you prefer knobs or handles on cabinets and drawers?
Handles.
Great answer. Any reason behind that?
They remind me of my nipples.
Like easier to grab. Wait, knobs do? Wait, handles do?
Yeah, handles do.
Handles
yeah, I
do.
have these nipples that are connected.
You have the opposite. Problem.
Yeah.
All right. And the second question from Timmy. What's the minimum amount of milk you can put on cereal before you may as well have none?
What's the minimum amount of milk I can put on cereal before I may as well have none? Have no cereal or no milk?
Have no milk.
I guess like 3 inches.
Okay.
I could work with 3 inches.
3 inches in a bowl.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for those questions, Timmy. Everyone follow Timmy at the Timmy Toes. Very funny.
Everyone
gentleman.
follow Timmy.
You got to follow Timmy. And now, questions from Kyle Davidson at Kyle I. Davidson. I asked him politely to send a question for Nick because I'd only gotten a couple. And instead of just, sending it normally, he DM'd me and then I asked him to tweet it and he tweeted a screenshot of the DM.
Oh, I like that.
It was great. He really
guy sounded
sticking it
alpha.
to me. It's my cousin, so he's allowed. And so his question first, say he was great on Poundcast. So we're talking about DJ Doug Pound. Great job on Poundcast,
Oh,
Nick.
that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
my
had a lot of
cousin,
fun doing that. Yeah.
He's a big DJ Doug Pound fan, and he actually got to meet him when we went to that alt show with Andy Kindler. DJ Dark Pound was on it, so he got to meet him after the show, which was
Doug
lovely.
is a great guy.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He loves puns, which I always appreciated.
Yeah, his set was a lot of he would tell a pun or a one-liner, and then he would just add a DJ sound
Sure,
at the
of
end,
course,
right? Yeah.
I'll tell you,
DJ Doug
I loved on that podcast when we were hanging out, I did make him laugh a few times, which always feels nice. Making a good guy like that. And of course, Brent's there. I know,
Weinbach. Weinbach is great. All right, so it was great. So you're just saying you had a good time in the mix.
Loved being in the mix.
So that was great. Kyle follows up with some actual questions. What's your wildest rock and roll tour story?
Wildest rock and roll tour story would be, we played in a shack on the side of a river that you had to get to from a ladder in Milan, Italy. A wooden shack. And then the crowd chased us with a dirty mattress.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that is wild.
Trying to think if there's anything else.
No, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the getting chased part. That's wild.
Yeah, they were chased. We had a lot of things where the crowd would kind of abuse. They would get so excited they would abuse people in the band. We played in London and the crowd was so over the top. They emptied a garbage can on the drummer's head and he stopped the show.
I guess.
And then in Cleveland, we played a place called Horrible Fest, and people were throwing firecrackers and emptying garbage cans throughout our set. So, it's hard to believe we broke up.
We were
getting treated so nicely.
After the first getting garbage can emptied on you, you're like, all right, if this ever happens again, and then 5 more garbage cans emptied on you, you're like, all right, only a few
and then
more.
Garbage can me once.
Shame on you.
Shame on you. Garbage can me twice. Still shame on you.
Shame on you. Stop doing that.
Garbage can me 3 times. Okay, now we're getting to maybe I like being
it's
garbage.
It's a bit of a thing. It's kind of what we are known for. All right. That's a great story. And Kyle's final question is, biggest hero you ever met?
Oh, another great question. I've gotten to meet, in terms of comedy, I've met a lot of those people. I don't know if I'm drawing a blank or what, but it's
you met so many.
I did a show with Colin Quinn, and he was very kind. And then, in comedy, it's interesting. I'm trying to think. I did meet Norm Macdonald, so that was really exciting.
That's huge.
And I saw Chris Farley film a scene in Dirty Work when I was a teenager.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Uh-huh.
That's a classic
I got to watch
movie.
Dirty Work being filmed.
Yeah. Was it the hooker scene?
It was a scene that's only used in certain cuts of the movie where he pulls up to the Dirty Work business at the end of the movie, and he's like, yeah, over there, we're getting hitched. Like
Yeah.
he points at the hooker who bit his nose off.
Yeah.
The Saigon whore.
Saigon whore.
Bit his nose off. So, and on that shoot, I never met Chris Farley, but I did get to talk to like Bob Saget and Artie Lang and Norm Macdonald a little bit, and that was very thrilling as a kid. And Sarah Silverman, meeting Sarah Silverman was really cool. And trying to think of anyone else. Like it's all comedy people, and I don't even. It's mostly comedy people, although I'm sure there's others in the mix that I'm just forgetting. Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. I was like starstruck by, and I was not expecting to be at all.
That's always weird when you see someone in real life and you're like, why my mouth no work?
Yeah, I was like, I had no idea. I loved Jerry Cantrell so much, but that's how it goes.
Well, thank you very much, Kyle, for sending those questions. And that brings us to the final question. It is a write-in question from friend of the show, Jeff DeSilva, all the way out in Calgary.
Hi, Jeff.
And his question is Nick East Indian at all? Or just his chest hair?
Oh, yeah, I see.
It was a Jeff DeSilva joke setup question.
Jeff Comedy Jam.
Jeff Comedy Jam, indeed.
No, I'm not East Indian, but I know East Indian people, and I've known them since I was children, so maybe that was something I absorbed.
Oh, maybe it rubbed off on you, and that's why you have such thick and lustrous chest hair.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, I think we did it. Now is the time for plugs. We can replug all the plugs that you wanted to plug at the top of the show. I think you plugged a couple things, but plug away, Nick.
I feel bad that I plugged away, but yes, Wiped Privilege. If you could support that and spread the word, I would really appreciate it. It's on all of the Spotify type things. Also, nickflanagan.bandcamp.com.
Link in the notes.
Link in notes. At the Flans on Twitter. Nick Flanagan on Instagram. What else is there? I'm Here All Week is my other album. Wrong Hole has a Bandcamp as well. It's wrongholemusic.bandcamp.com. You can buy our album 2012 there. And we have a lot of videos on YouTube. And I really want to do a podcast kind of thing. I want to do like something. So I hope I can figure out what that is, sometime soon. I don't really know.
I hope you do too, because we didn't mention it, but you were co-host of the Danco Jones podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah. And we just did another episode.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, Danco Jones, like a Canadian rock legend. He's got a lot of rock icon. And you were the co-host of the podcast. So you definitely got the mic technique. You got the sweet voice. You got the clear point of view to share with the world. I think that's all it takes.
It's so tiring, isn't it, though?
It's a lot. But
why did you decide to do one?
I really wanted to meet all the cool people that I've met on Twitter and really kind of get to know them as friends, and also sort of challenge myself to do something and put something out in the world. And maybe I'll start hitting up some open mics and really get out there and flex my comedy muscles.
Hey, man, you're contributing to comedy anyway, even if it's just on Twitter. So if you don't have to, you can do an open mic if you want, but you're throwing things that are nice into the world. So
thanks, Nick.
Don't you fret.
All right. Okay.
Little imp.
I won't stress. Thanks, Nick.
And, I kind of killed that compliment by calling you an imp at the end, but I meant it like in the impish sense and not in the sort of demonic sense. In the like sort of fun guy. And if anyone follows me on Twitter because of this, just let me know and I'll follow you back. That's a promise that I'm going to probably regret.
It's a Flanagan guarantee. Yeah, he'll follow you for a while until
to quote Cajun Man, I guarantee.
Guarantee. Well, Nick, thanks again so much for joining us. And now I will play the theme and we will end the show like that. So thanks again for joining us. Sure to do all the things that Nick said. Buy his albums. Follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Bye, Nick.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode with Nick. So cool. Such great stories. What a nice and very cool fellow. I hope you all go follow him right now at The Flans on Twitter. Check us out at FOTS Pod, and please send a question for future guests. Follow at Skinner Steven if it feels right. Surf over to StephenWSkinner.com for all the old episodes and subscribe on Apple Podcasts to get a new episode every Monday. Thanks to Ruby Coast for the music. And thank you so much for listening. And have a great one.